Hi, and welcome back to this week's podcast episode of Web3 Compass. The year is coming towards an end, and I hope you have the time to calm a little bit down. And you also might want to grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee for this week's podcast episode. Today I will be talking about crypto oracles and Chainlink. It is part of my DeFi Talents program, and I did some research on these topics, and I was really fascinated, which is why I also want to give you an introduction today. And since this podcast is a podcast about the future of the web and generative AI seems to have had a breakthrough in the last month, I also want to use this as an introduction, so using generative AI as an introduction to this week's podcast episode by using Jasper.ai, which is a unicorn startup which helps to write search engine optimized content for websites. So for example, it helps you to write a blog article which has a high ranking on Google. And I signed up for like a testing period. And I had some input variables. For example, the blog topic should be crypto oracles as a keyword, Chainlink, and also AI bias. The tone of voice of the article I put in professional, and the intended audience are CIOs, CTOs, and developers. Of course, everybody is my audience, but I just wanted to get like a technical introduction or blog post about these topics. And I want to read you the result. So the blog title is The Benefits and Risks of Using Crypto Oracles. Blog introduction. Crypto oracles, also known as Chainlink, are the bridge between blockchains and external data sources. They enable smart contracts to be executed based on data from the real world. As a result, they have become increasingly popular for use in decentralized finance, DeFi application. However, there are some risks associated with using crypto oracles that must be taken into consideration when deciding whether or not to implement them. So first of all, crypto oracles is like a general term, and they are not known as Chainlink, but Chainlink is one form of crypto oracle. And I read the rest of the article before I go deeper into detail here. So the blog body here, the Jasper.ai generated the following. What are crypto oracles? Crypto oracles are pieces of software that connect blockchain networks to external data sources such as stock prices, weather forecasts, sports scores, etc. This allows smart contracts to be executed automatically based on real-world data without any human intervention. This makes it possible for DeFi applications such as prediction markets and automated insurance policies to function properly without relying on centralized third-party providers. It's very technical, and I will also explain a little bit later how it really works or how Chainlink, for example, works. But you can imagine like our crypto oracle as a connector between the real world and the blockchain. Of course, if you have like a sporting event, how should the blockchain know, for example, if you have a betting service, which is based on smart contracts, who the winner is? And here the oracle is needed, which transfers the result of the game, for example, on the blockchain. But I also read about examples of insurance. If you have, for example, a climate event like a hurricane or maybe like extreme heat, and you have some sort of insurance for these events, then it could, for example, be measured in the real world. For example, the temperature of an area could be measured, or the wind, or whatever. And then the data could be, through the oracle, be put on the blockchain, which could then trigger the smart contract to execute some sort of action. And also talking about DeFi, I think DeFi is probably a major use case here. And one of the use cases might be synthetic assets. So synthetic assets, or sometimes they are also known as synths, are a combination of cryptocurrencies and traditional derivative assets. So basically you could say they are tokenized derivatives. So they are created by creating a crypto token for the derivative. And it's now very in the finance direction. But of course, also if you have like such instruments on the blockchain, the real life data, for example, of the underlying stock price, needs to get on the blockchain. And it might be abstract, and you always have to think a lot of crypto projects are creating solutions for problems which are not really problems. This is my observation over the last year. But there are also use cases, and one of them could be, as I said before, insurance. And one insurance is Ping An, which is like, I think, the largest Chinese insurance. And I also sent in the past a very interesting article in the Web3 Compass Discord channel. So if you have not joined yet, check in the link in the show notes of the podcast. You can see it directly in your Spotify or Apple player or whatever you are using. And they have completely automated the insurance process for car damages. And it's very, very interesting. And I think blockchain could have here like a very good use case. But now I'm not finished on the article. So the next part is risk of using crypto oracles, also from Jasper.ai. The main risks associated, and I'm reading now the article, the main risks associated with using crypto oracles is the potential for AI bias in their algorithms. AI bias occurs when the algorithm used by an oracle is not trained properly and thus produces inaccurate results due to its inherent biases. For example, if a crypto oracle is giving stock prices from a biased source, then it will produce inaccurate forecasts because it has been trained on inaccurate data. Additionally, malicious actors can manipulate an oracle results by feeding it false data in order to take advantage of smart contract vulnerabilities. Finally, crypto oracles may also be vulnerable to attack due to their reliance on centralized third-party providers such as web APIs and off-chain databases. If one of these services experiences an outage, then the oracle will not be able to provide accurate results until the service is restored. So first of all, I'm amazed by generative AI. This text is flawless. It reads like it has been written by a human. And also from like a content perspective, it is true because you have to feed the oracle the right data. And of course, you also have to think about ways of manipulation. And I will later also talk about it. But the oracle networks in an ideal case have to be decentralized because a blockchain really wants to avoid the centralized source of information. But also talking about general problems of artificial intelligence, it is like this shit in, shit out, where you feed like wrong or false data and you get a false result. You also don't want this to happen. It reminds me of the artificial intelligence hiring bias. You might also want to check it out. But now the blog article is also not finished. I want to read you lastly the conclusion. And it says the following. Crypto oracles offer a powerful way for developers to create decentralized applications that rely on real-world data. However, there are some risks associated with using them, such as AI bias and reliance on centralized third-party providers that must be taken into account before implementation. By understanding these risks and taking steps to mitigate them appropriately, developers can ensure that their DeFi applications remain secure and reliable even in volatile market conditions. Amazing, right? I mean, this opens a whole new market. And generative AI, I also tested, maybe some words about this. I also tested like the Codex tool of OpenAI, which is also the company behind ChatGPT. And you, for example, could build like a calculator. I couldn't build, I also have to say that, I couldn't build complex applications. But I mean, like for a content perspective, if you are, for example, an expert on a subject, and you want to generate just search engine optimization content for your website. You could fill hundreds of blog posts in days by using this, and just how do you say it in English? Just going through the text and making it smooth and doing some minor corrections. But on the other hand, of course, there will also be the way that people will manipulate it and will just create content from the generative AI. And there are no experts on the matter and will put out false information. But now coming back to crypto oracles, I think this is extremely interesting because it just makes the area of blockchain technology use cases much broader, because it also brings real world data to the blockchain. And I want to talk about Chainlink. Chainlink is a decentralized blockchain oracle network, probably the most famous. It was created in 2017, and of course the goal of oracles, as said before, is to bring real-world data to the blockchain. So oracles are some sort of intermediary. And really important is also, as I said before, that there's no centralized source of information, because it would be a single point of failure and it could be corrupted. And talking about betting, for example, it's also very important that you have several nodes, for example, oracle nodes, which give the right result and that they are not compromised. Because if you have like a smart contract, the information has to be right. Yeah, how does the process work, for example, at Chainlink? So let's say you have a smart contract which requires information. For example, you did some blockchain-based betting, and now the smart contract needs to know who is the winner of a football match. So now the smart contract triggers a requesting contract. So the requesting contract is a term from Chainlink to get the information. Chainlink registers this as an event. And now Chainlink receives the requesting contract and creates a Chainlink service level agreement, like an SLA contract, in order to get off-chain data. And now there are 3 more contracts. So the first one is the reputation contract and the white paper. So there are 2 white papers from Chainlink, and the definition is from the first white paper. And it says the reputation contract keeps track of Oracle service providers' performance metrics. So it helps to evaluate the accuracy of the Oracle nodes. The goal is to have trusted source of information. The second contract is the order matching contract. Also from the white paper, it says the order matching contract takes a proposed SLA, logs the SLA parameters, and collects bits from Oracle providers. So it basically selects the Oracle nodes if they are not given in advance in the smart contract to fulfill the requests. And lastly, there's the aggregating contract. Also, the definition from the white paper says the aggregating contract collects the Oracle provider's responses and calculates the final collective result of the Chainlink query. So it basically is here to validate the data and also to reconcile them, for example, by taking an average. There are, of course, several events, and you cannot take all the time averages, but let's take the sport game, and you have 10 Oracle nodes which give you the information, and 9 say Team A has won the game and 1 says Team B has won. Then it says, okay, the 9 sources of information are accurate. The 10 source, for example, which said Team B has won, is not accurate. And yeah, I think this is really interesting. So you have one contract, the reputation contract, which helps you to find a trusted source of information and which is here to have this reputation system. Then you have the order matching contract, which helps in the selection of nodes, and then the aggregating contract, which helps to verify the result. And I found like an article from Decrypt which says that as of September 2022, there are 1,000 Oracle nodes. And of course, you're asking yourself probably right now, What's the incentive? Chainlink has a token which is called Link, and this token is used to pay Chainlink node operators. And I also talked about that there's a second white paper, which is from 2021 about Chainlink 2.0, which says it wants to focus on 7 key areas. First of all, hybrid smart contracts, so for on-chain and off-chain information. Second, scaling. It wants to have low latency and high throughput for high-performance blockchains. The third point is abstracting away complexity. It's really here to have a simple solution, or let's say a simplistic solution, which in my opinion is much needed. The fourth area is confidentiality. It also has approaches for sensitive data. Fifth, order fairness, so to prevent front running and other exploitations. Sixth, trust minimization. And seventh, crypto economic security, so that there will be always an economic incentive to behave reliably and correctly. Yeah, so I hope this short introduction to oracles and also to Chainlink was helpful for you. I think it's very interesting. There's, of course, a lot to read about this topic. I can only recommend you the website of Chainlink, and also to read the white paper, maybe also the early version, the first version, because it's much more compact than the second version. And I'm really interested which role oracles play in the future, and I'm also very interested in your opinion. So you might want to write it into the Discord channel. And this will be my last episode before Christmas. So I wish you all a happy Christmas. Even though if you're not Christian, I just wish you some nice days. Maybe you also have time off from work and can just relax a little bit, calm down, and enjoy the end of the year. So have a great festive season. And hopefully I will make a recap episode of 2022, and you might also want to check that out. Until then, have a great day. Cheers.